do you think people want to be forced into being led by somebody just because they have a lot of force, or do you think they
ultimately,
want...
ultimately, I'll answer your question directly. The answer is yes, and I can. Hang on. I can demonstrate. Yes. Well, actually, yes, they do. You may think that they don't, but let me ask you a question, sir. Do you stop at stop signs?
I do. I'm forced.
Why?
Yes. Because I'm forced.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a second. Hang on. Wait a second. Would you really have it any other way?
Yes, I prefer to make my own judgment.
You would rather there was no stop signs, or you would rather?
If it's 3 o'clock in the morning, I don't want to stop at a stop sign. I trust.
But
my
you still
judgment
do.
more than that
But you
stop
still
sign.
do.
Yeah,
because it develops. Because what that does is it develops good habits, so that you're always stopping at the stop signs, even if there's no police officer around. Don't you think that that's actually, as far as a protocol goes, probably pretty good for society at large?
Wouldn't it tap into?
Hang on. But why are you against it? Like, if you are if you're building good habits, which both protect you and protect everybody who's around you at the same time, even though there's no actual enforcement around, just the threat of enforcement requires you to behave properly. What is your actual issue with that?
Well, first of all, I didn't think it was behaving properly. Remember, I think I get to run that stop sign at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Then why don't you? Why don't you?
Because I'm scared some cop gonna jump out from a bush.
I see.
And charge me money.
So if cops were your wife, would you step in and do something about that?
Yes, they were.
Oh, yes, you would. I see. So if cops were doing something that you considered to be immoral, you would step in to try to stop that. However, in this case, when there's no cop around, you still obey the law. That seems to indicate to me that there's some bearing on that law you must agree with.
Virtue ethics.
Yes, there is some. I wouldn't dispute that. Yeah.
Then what are we arguing about?
I have to go.
I don't think they get to determine. It shouldn't be 100%. They shouldn't get to determine that shit 100%.
Hey, before Mel
kicking
goes,
me out. Yeah.
Before Mel goes, Mel, to your, I understand Andrew's response, but in the village, it's not that anybody's being forced. It's okay. Me and Joe Cool and Andrew and Flo and Ryan are there, and there's also 5 women that we never met before because we showed up on the island, right?
I can't believe I'm not there. Man, I hate this scenario.
Actually, I want to hear this.
We're trying to figure out why we're trying to figure out why we're on the island, and just because Flo is probably the strongest of us, he looks like he might be Andrew. I don't know if he works out or not. Ryan seems like he doesn't have any.
Jake's from Australia.
I'm not just gonna follow. I'm not just gonna follow either Andrew or Flo, right? I'm not gonna do it just because they're going to be physically more capable, or I think that they're going to force me to do anything. It's that they're a better person to be by my shoulder when we're fighting the werewolf, right? When the werewolf comes, I want Flo and Andrew both of my sides so that we can fight together.
So
but the rest of you guys,
wait a second. That's bizarre.
And say, well, let's not fight him.
This is really
nice,
funny.
You know, he deserves a.
So you're putting. Hang on, sir. You're putting yourself. Hang on, sir.
Hi, Mel.
Sir, you're putting yourself in a leadership position.
No, one of you guys is leading. I'm just
no. Wait a second. Are one of us leading? I thought that you just had conditionals on how people lead you.
No, I'm saying I want an ally that we can help fight against the monster.
And would you try to
nature?
And would you try to convince these people through logic to follow what it is that you're saying? And if necessary, if they were doing something immoral, utilize force in order to force. Hang on. Stop. Let me finish the question. Would you utilize force if necessary if they were demanding you did something immoral?
Yes.
So if these people utilize force in your behest to do things which were what you thought were moral, would you follow them?
I would have no choice if they were fighting the people who were immoral. Yeah, I would have no choice.
So then it sounds like you believe in force doctrine, sir.
That's what I was trying to support. Yeah, that's what
he does. Yeah, he does.
But I was just trying to say I'm not just doing it because you're forcing me. It's what I'm trying to explain to Mel. You're not forcing me to do it. I just want a strong ally.
Is there a possible way order for like a manipulation of some sort,
and I'm still winning,
to work better than like a strong force?
Yeah, well,
like a manipulation tactic. I mean,
of course, manipulation, especially sophisticated propaganda, can work. But ultimately, the baseline of all propaganda comes back to the idea of force. Somebody has to enforce your propaganda. So even if if it's the majority of people hang on, Mr. C, before you jump in. It is the case that any propaganda you produce needs to be enforced. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It will need to be enforced, even if it is by the majority. It's not that you can't convince people to do things. It's that ultimately it'll always come back to force doctrine. There's no way around it.
So, like a scare. Hold on. I'm asking questions. I'm learning.
I really want to respond to this.
So like, for instance, like a scare tactic, you're saying, there has to be something kind of behind it that would be, people would be afraid because of whatever force is standing behind it.
Always.
Yeah.
This is literally always the case, not only historically, but even right this second, no matter which Western or Eastern country you reference, ultimately, everything will always reduce to force doctrine. There's no way around it. There's never going to be any way around it. It's why leftists can never defeat me in a debate, because ultimately they have to concede that this is ultimately a fact. So if it is a fact, then we have to look at who is the enforcement arm of force doctrine. It's always going to rely on males, never going to rely on females. Males can change their conditionals through force. Women never can and never have been able to once.